Before we begin, let the silence settle around you. Not the kind you hear, the kind you feel crawling into the corners of the room. The story I'm about to tell wasn't meant to be spoken out loud. Someone carried it alone for far too long, afraid that saying it would make it real again. If a piece of their truth touches something you've kept buried, you can tell me in the comments. And if these quiet shadows keep pulling you back, you can like the video, subscribe, and tap the bell icon. Now don't move. Some memories wake up when they're listened to. My name is Hamza. I'm 24 now, living back with my parents in Islamabad, pretending that I just couldn't afford my own place anymore. That's not the real reason I left. The real reason is a tiny studio apartment in Rawalpindi, a typing bubble on Snapchat, and a sentence that still rings in my head every time I close my eyes. I'm inside. I know how it sounds. Overdramatic. Online creep. Block and move on, right? I wish it was that simple. I wish this was just some story I was making up to scare you. But I can still feel that night in my body, in my chest, in my hands when they start shaking for no reason. I'm telling you this because I need it out of me, and because if you're anything like I was, scrolling, lonely, bored, half awake at 2 a.m. with your screen lighting up your face, you need to hear it. Last winter, I was living alone in a small studio near Saddar. Old building, cheap rent, thin walls. You could hear the guy next door coughing, the elevator cables whining, stray dogs fighting in the alley. The heater barely worked. The room always smelled like damp plaster and that metallic dust you get from old radiators. It wasn't home. It was just a place to sleep and charge my phone. I was doing freelance design, mostly working nights. My life was basically laptop glow, cold coffee, and Snapchat. I'd post random stories, ugly ceiling fan, chai bad memes, talk to the same 5 people, pretend I wasn't as alone as I felt. That's important to understand. I was lonely, really, really lonely. So when it happened, I was the exact kind of person it works on. It was a Thursday night, late December, the kind of cold that gets into your bones and stays there. Gas load shedding meant the geyser wasn't working, so I was wrapped in a blanket, hoodie up, socks on, still shivering. The room smelled like instant noodles and wet clothes that never fully dried. I remember the time because I checked it right before everything started. 1:56 a.m. I had just posted a stupid mirror selfie on my story with some song playing in the background. I was about to put my phone down when I saw it. Near you _01 added you as a friend. No Bitmoji, no display picture, no mutuals, just that generic gray shadow and the username. I frowned, thought maybe it was some spam account. I didn't accept. I didn't block either. I just left it. That was the first mistake. I should have blocked it. I should have listened to that tiny prickle at the back of my neck that said, "Who is that?" But I just locked my phone and put it on the pillow next to me. The room hummed with the old fridge in the corner. Someone slammed a door on a different floor, then silence again. The only light was from the small street lamp outside, leaking through the cheap curtains, drawing pale lines across the wall. I must have dozed off for a while, because the next thing I remember is my phone vibrating against my ear. 2:13 a.m. Picked it up, eyes burning, and there it was. Chat from near you _01. And under it, the typing bubble. 3 dots, pulsing in a tiny gray speech bubble, popping up, disappearing, coming back, like someone about to say something and hesitating. I waited for the message to appear. Nothing. The heater crackled once and went quiet again. Somewhere upstairs, a tap was dripping, drip, 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 sharp and hollow in the stillness. I watched that typing bubble for maybe 30 seconds and then rolled my eyes. "Okay, weirdo," I muttered, tossing the phone down. I tried to go back to sleep, but every few minutes the phone would light up again. Typing, disappear, typing, disappear. No message, just those 3 dots, over and over. After 10 minutes, it stopped being annoying and started feeling wrong, like someone standing just outside your door, breathing, but not knocking. My eyes kept going to the door, even though I knew nobody was there. White paint, cheap metal lock, a little smudge at the bottom where my shoes had scuffed it. Still, my chest felt tight. I told myself I was being stupid, that it was probably a glitch. I told myself I was fine. I wasn't. By 2:40 a.m., my curiosity had eaten through my fear. I opened the chat, typing. The bubble popped up the second I tapped on it, like it had been waiting for me to look. It stayed there, those 3 dots almost. Excited, I stared at the empty space above my keyboard, thumb hovering. Who is this? I typed. Sent. The bubble disappeared. 10 seconds. 20. My heartbeat was loud now, thudding in my chest, in my throat, in my ears. The room felt smaller, warmer, and colder at the same time. My fingers were starting to shake. Then, finally, the message appeared. I'm inside. Just those 2 words. White text on a dark background. I laughed. A short, nervous sound that didn't feel like it belonged to me. Nice, I said out loud, trying to sound amused. Creep. But my eyes were already scanning the room. Reflex. Bed. Desk. Tiny kitchenette. The narrow bathroom door slightly open, showing a sliver of darkness. The old wooden wardrobe to the right, paint peeling, one handle missing. Everything was exactly how I'd left it. Still, my skin felt too tight, like it didn't fit right. I got up anyway. I checked the door first. Locked. Bolt slid in place. Chain on. The metal was cold under my fingers. I pulled it twice just to be sure. The window above the small sofa was shut. The glass was fogged from the cold. A faint circle where my breath hit it when I leaned close. The latch looked fine. Pushed nothing. See, I muttered to myself. No one's inside. It's just some idiot. But my heart wouldn't calm down. I went to the bathroom, turned on the light. Harsh white tubes hummed and flickered once before stabilizing. Sink, mirror, rust stains, empty towel hook, shower corner. Nothing. When I stepped back into the main room, the smell hit me. It was subtle at first. Not the food, not damp clothes. Something else layered under it. Like sweat and something sweet going sour. Old breath in a closed space. It made my nose wrinkle. For a second, I thought it was me. I'd been in that same hoodie all day. I grabbed my phone again. The next message had already arrived. Look behind you. My stomach dropped so hard I felt dizzy. I didn't move, didn't turn. Every muscle locked. It felt like the air had turned into thick, invisible hands pushing down on my shoulders. Slowly, fighting every instinct, I used the front camera instead. I flipped it on, held the phone up and looked at the screen. My own face stared back at me. Sleep-puffy eyes, messy hair, hoodie string hanging crooked. Behind me, the room looked the same. The bed, the door, the curtain. No one there. I let out a shaky breath that sounded almost like a sob. Not funny, I typed with clumsy fingers. Who are you? This time, the reply was instant. A snap. A photo. My thumb hovered over it. I could hear my own breathing now, too loud in the quiet. The fridge hummed again. Somewhere outside, a motorbike passed, the sound fading quickly. I opened the snap. It was my living room. My sofa, the worn gray fabric. The small coffee table with an empty mug and 2 biscuit crumbs. The same ugly curtains. The pale streak of street lamp light cutting across the floor. The picture was taken from low down, like someone was half-crouched. Behind the sofa, exactly where my back had been resting 15 minutes ago. I don't remember dropping the phone, but it hit the floor with a sharp crack, the case popping slightly open. The sound jolted me out of whatever frozen state I was in. I heard myself make this broken animal noise, half shout, half gasp. Then I ran, barefoot, didn't even grab my keys. I just yanked the lock, flung the door open so hard it hit the wall with a bang, and bolted into the corridor. The floor was freezing under my feet, rough concrete biting into my skin. The hallway smelled like dust and stale smoke. I hammered on the night guard's room downstairs, words tripping over themselves as I tried to explain. He stared at me for a second, eyes heavy with sleep, then called the police. I remember standing outside the building, breath making little ghosts in the cold air, arms wrapped around myself so tight my nails dug into my skin. Every window in that ugly block of flats looked like a dark eye staring down at me. I kept expecting to see someone pull the curtain aside and wave. The police took 22 minutes to arrive. I counted. They went through my apartment with flashlights, boots leaving dirty prints on the cheap tiles. The smell in the room was stronger now that I'd left and come back. Like the sweetness had thickened, turning into something sickening. They checked under the bed, in the bathroom, inside the wardrobe, above the kitchen cabinets. Nothing. One of them laughed when he saw the Snapchat messages. "Young people yar," he said to his partner. "Too many movies." The other one, though, the older one, didn't laugh. He walked over to the window, ran his fingers along the latch, then frowned. "Come here," he said. The metal latch was still technically in place, but the wood around it, the wood was splintered, tiny cracks radiating out, like something had been forced through from the inside. Not kicked, not broken open, pried. From my side of the room, the older officer looked at me, really looked at me then. "Did you do this?" he asked quietly. "No," I whispered. My throat felt raw. I always keep it shut. I swear." He nodded slowly, didn't say much after that. They filed a report, told me to be careful, suggested I stay somewhere else for a few days if I was that scared. I didn't go back for anything that night. Not the laptop, not my clothes, not the mug on the table. I went straight to my parents' house, sat on their living room floor at 4 a.m. and shook until the sun came up. We moved my stuff out in the daytime. The room looked smaller, harmless, like a cheap listing photo. The smell was almost gone by then, just a faint sweetness in the corner where the sofa had been. I deleted Snapchat that same week. You'd think that would be the end of it, right? Move out, move on, therapy time. That's what everyone tells you. It was just some guy. You got away. It's over. Except it doesn't feel over. Because sometimes, late at night, when I'm scrolling on my phone in my parents' house, in my safe, familiar bed with my childhood posters still on the wall, it happens. My phone will glitch just for a second. The screen will flicker the way AMOLED screens do when they catch a weird reflection. An app will stutter. I'll be about to open Instagram, or YouTube, or just check the time, and I'll see it. Not for long. Less than a second. But long enough that my heart stops. That same shape. That same position. A tiny gray speech bubble. 3 dots. Pulsing. Typing. Then gone. No notification. No name. Just like my old phone is bleeding into this one. Or like something else found its way in. I tell myself it's a glitch. Just leftover paranoia. That my brain is trying to keep the fear alive even when there's nothing there. But then every now and then, when the house is too quiet, when everyone else is asleep and the heater clicks off and the shadows reset themselves in the corners, I swear I hear it. A soft vibration against wood. Like a phone buzzing on a table. From inside my wardrobe. I don't get up to check. Not anymore. I just lie there, staring at the dark, feeling the goosebumps crawl up my arms, my breath loud in my ears, and I wait for it to stop. Because I know what I'll see if I turn on the light. If I open the door. If I look too closely at any screen for too long when the world is asleep. A chat. No name. No bitmoji. Just a message waiting to be opened. And behind it, a typing bubble that never really went away. If I had blocked that account the second it added me, maybe none of this would have happened. Maybe it would have moved on to someone else. Maybe it never would have gotten in. Or maybe it was never about the app at all. Maybe it was always about the fact that I was alone, awake, and watching, just like you are now. So if your phone lights up after this, and you see a typing bubble where there shouldn't be one, don't open it. And whatever you do, don't look behind your couch. My name is Denial. I'm 23. I live in Karachi now, in a crowded apartment with my cousins and the constant noise of traffic and generators and people. I moved here because I told everyone I got a better job. That's not the real reason. The real reason is that my body still wakes me up at 3:17 a.m. every night. No alarm, no noise, just my eyes snapping open, heart already beating too fast, skin already cold. My body remembers before my mind does. It started last year when I was still in Rawalpindi, renting a small one-bedroom near Commercial Market. Old building, paint peeling, walls thin enough that you could hear your neighbor sneeze. The room always smelled like dust, old wood, and that faint mildew you can never really scrub out. I worked a call center night shift, came home around midnight, drained and wired at the same time. I didn't have many friends left. The schedule kills your social life, so my entire connection to the world was my phone. Snapchat, TikTok, the usual. Screens glowing in the dark while the rest of the city slept. That's where she showed up. Her name on Snapchat was Era Dizzy. Cute bitmoji, messy hair, hoodie, that typical soft girl aesthetic. She added me first. We didn't have mutuals. I assumed she'd seen me on someone's story, or maybe through quick ad. I didn't think too hard about it. I was lonely. That's the part one hate admitting. So when a pretty girl adds you, reacts to your snaps, starts sending you streaks, you don't question it. You just roll with it. First, it was normal. She'd reply to my dumb mirror snaps with laughing emojis. Send me pictures of her coffee, her notebook, her socks. Nothing weird. Nothing sexual. Just small, everyday things. But there was one thing that didn't fit. Her own stories. They were always dark. Not aesthetic dark. Literally dark. Half of them looked like they were filmed in corners, a strip of floor, a little bit of wall, maybe the edge of a bed. The audio would be muffled. A fan whirring. A slow, dragging sound. Once I swear I heard someone whispering, but I couldn't make out the words. And she always posted them at exactly 3:17 a.m. Not 3:18. Not 3:16. 3:17. I didn't notice at first. It just became this subconscious pattern. I'd be lying there, trying to sleep after the shift, phone on my chest, and I'd drift in and out until that familiar vibration would jolt me awake. New story from Era Dizzy. Every time I tapped, the time on the screen would read 3:17. The first night I really saw it, it was just a blurry shot of what looked like a tiled floor. A wet patch on it, dark, spreading. The sound of something dripping. No caption. I watched it twice, frowning, then shrugged it off. That was the first sign something was wrong. I realize now. The second night, another snap. Same time, 3:17 a.m. This time it was a close-up of a door. Old wooden, chipped at the edges. You could see a metal handle, scratched and dull. The camera moved slowly toward it like whoever was filming had heavy arms. The audio was just breathing. Hard, close breathing. Then the 10 seconds ended. No context. No explanation. Nothing. It unsettled me, but I forced myself to laugh. Some people are just weird, I said to the empty room, tossing my phone aside. Probably just late-night aesthetic nonsense. I told myself I was fine. I wasn't. After that, I started noticing other things. Sometimes when I'd send her a snap, a stupid filter selfie, usually she wouldn't respond for hours. But I could see she'd viewed it instantly, as if she was always there online just waiting. Her streaks were always faceless. A photo of a wall, a bed, the edge of a window, once the underside of a table, all dim, all with that same low humming sound in the background, like an old refrigerator or maybe a faraway engine. And always posted at 3:17 a.m. One night, I joked, "Do you ever sleep?" Faced with tears of joy, she opened the message, left it on scene. No reply. Something about that bothered me more than it should have. Like I'd said the wrong thing to someone I didn't actually know at all. Around this time, the insomnia started getting worse. I'd come home, shower, eat whatever was left in the fridge, and try to knock out, but my body would jerk awake right before 3. I'd lie there, staring at the cheap ceiling fan spinning lazily, counting the cracks in the plaster. And without fail, the vibration would come. 3:17 a.m. New story. A dark room. A floor. That breathing. I told myself it was just edgy content. Maybe she was depressed. Maybe she was doing some weird ARG thing for her friends. I should have listened to that feeling in my chest that said it wasn't just that. One night, I decided I was going to catch it the second it posted. I don't know why. Curiosity, boredom, a twisted kind of fear. I lay on my bed with the phone in my hand. Screen dimmed, Snapchat open on her profile. 3:16 a.m. My heart was thudding so hard I could feel it in my throat. The room was cold. The heater was off to save on the bill. The window was shut, but I could hear a stray dog barking somewhere outside, the distant rumble of a truck on the main road. 3:17 a.m. The purple circle appeared around her Bitmoji. I opened the story instantly, less than a second delay. This time it wasn't a room. It was outside. Grainy, shaky video of a street at night. Our kind of street. Narrow, with parked cars and tangled electric wires sagging between poles. The lights were that dull amber color, buzzing faintly. The camera was low to the ground, like the person holding it was crouching, or maybe sitting on their heels. I froze, because I recognized the curve of the road. The old shop shutter with faded red paint. The burned-out street lamp on the corner. It was my street. I sat up so fast my vision blurred. My ears were ringing. I didn't even notice that my hands had started to sweat until the phone almost slipped from my fingers. My window. My light was on in the video, and the angle lined up perfectly with where I was standing. Then the camera zoomed in just a little more, like it was trying to get closer. The video ended, and for a split second before the snap closed, I thought I saw movement in the reflection of the glass. Not out on the street. Behind me, my whole body went cold. Not scared cold, shock cold, like my blood had just stopped. I didn't turn around. Couldn't. For a few seconds, all I heard was my breathing and the faint buzz of the street lamp outside. The room behind me felt suddenly thick, the air heavy and warm against my back compared to the cold window glass under my fingertips. Then my phone vibrated again. New chat from Era Dizzy. My thumb trembled as I opened it. There was no text, just a snap waiting in the chat. I tapped it, black screen at first. Then the camera adjusted, grain sharpening into detail. It was the hallway outside my apartment door. I recognized the stained gray tiles, the little crack near the skirting, the cheap brown doormat with "Welcome" almost rubbed off. The frame held steady for a second. Then the camera moved toward my door. Slowly, the faint sound of bare feet on tile, slapping softly. I realized then that the noise in the background of all her videos, the humming, the breathing, wasn't a fridge or a fan. It was just her, moving, getting closer. Her hand entered the frame. Pale fingers, nails short, no polish. She reached for my doorknob. My real doorknob rattled. I heard it. Metal against metal. Soft, testing. From the other side of the door, the snap ended. I dropped the phone. The sound of it hitting the floor made me flinch, but it also snapped me out of whatever frozen state I was in. I ran to the door and slapped the lock with both hands, even though it was already closed. Chain on. Bolt shot. I still leaned my whole weight against it. The knob turned again. Harder this time. "Who's there?" I shouted, voice cracking. "Con hi." No answer. Just another slow twist of the handle. I don't remember grabbing my phone, but suddenly it was back in my hand, and I was dialing 15 with fingers that couldn't stay still. My voice sounded high and strange when I tried to explain. "There's someone outside my door. She's sending me snaps." I could hear my own panic, and I hated it, but I couldn't pull it back. While I was on the call, another snap came through. The notification banner slid across the top of my screen like a smile. New snap from Era Dizzy. I didn't open it. The operator kept asking me for my address. I gave it, stumbling over the street number. The knocking stopped. The handle went still. The sudden silence felt worse. I stayed pressed against the door, every muscle braced, waiting for it to move again. Didn't. By the time the police and the building's night guard came up the stairs, my legs were shaking so badly I could barely stand away from the door. They opened it for me, swinging it wide into the corridor. Empty. The hallway smelled like dust and old cigarettes. The fluorescent tube light flickered once, buzzing, then steadied. No footprints. No distant footsteps. No pale-haired girl vanishing down the stairs. But there was something, right at the bottom of the door. On the inside, a smudge, for faint lines, trailing downward, like someone's fingers had slid off the wood. I kept staring at it while they asked questions. Name, number, had I seen anyone suspicious? Did I have enemies? It all blurred together into white noise. At some point, one of the officers asked me to show them the snaps. I opened Snapchat. The chat was still there. But the username wasn't Era Dizzy anymore. It was just user not found. Her Bitmoji was gone. Her story circle was gone. Our streak number had vanished. Only the messages remained, those little gray and purple boxes. One by one, they started disappearing too. Snap expired. Snap expired. Snap expired. Including the latest ones. The street. My window. The hallway. By the time I tried to tap them again, there was nothing. Just the empty chat. My texts hanging there like I'd been talking to myself. The officer gave me a look that said he didn't fully believe me. But there was just enough unease in his eyes that he didn't say it out loud. They made a report. Told me to be careful. Suggested I stay with family for a few days if I was that shaken up. I didn't stay a few days. I left. New city. New job. New number. New everything. I deleted Snapchat. Then reinstalled it months later because I was curious if the account would still be there. It wasn't. But the 317 thing. That never stopped. Even now, in Karachi, surrounded by noise and people and light leaking in through thin curtains, I'll jolt awake and reach for my phone. Heart pounding, fingers already swiping up to unlock. Sometimes there's nothing. Sometimes there is. A new friend request. Different name. Random Bitmoji. Zero mutuals. And sometimes, only sometimes, but enough that I know it's not just my mind, there'll be a single story available. I'll tap instinctively before I can stop myself. It'll be 10 seconds of black. Or the floor. Or a door. Or a hallway light. The timestamp, if I check it, will always be the same. Posted. 3:17 a.m. I tell myself it's coincidence. Some bug. Some algorithm coincidence that means I keep finding the same kind of people online. I tell myself that. But every time I see that number, my stomach twists. Because I know somewhere someone is pointing their phone at a door, at a street, at a window. And I don't think she ever really vanished. I think she just learned how to change her name. So if you're listening to this later tonight, and your phone buzzes a little after 3, and you see a new account has added you, no mutuals, cute little Bitmoji, normal name, check the time. If it says 3:17 a.m., don't open the story. And whatever you do, don't go to the window to see if anyone's out there filming. You might already be in the frame. My name is Saad. I'm 22 now, finishing my last semester. But I still can't sleep in a room unless I can see the door and my phone is in airplane mode. That started in second year. Back when I thought the scariest things in college were grades, fees, and whether I'd get a job. Back when I thought Snapchat streaks were just stupid little flames on a screen. I was living in a boys' hostel near campus in Lahore. For floors, thin walls, metal beds. The kind of place that always smelled like instant noodles, Axe body spray, and wet towels that never fully dried. My room was on the 3rd floor, 2 beds, 2 desks, 1 tiny window facing a brick wall. I was sharing with my roommate, Ali. He snored like a generator and somehow always had the energy to talk at 3 a.m. when I wanted to die. We both used Snapchat like everyone else. Streaks with friends, random selfies, cafeteria food, lecture misery. It was dumb, but it made the long days feel less heavy. I never thought an app could become the thing that made me afraid to close my eyes. The first time anything weird happened, it was a Tuesday morning. I remember because I had an 8 a.m. quiz and I was already stressed. I woke up to Ali laughing. He was sitting on the edge of his bed, hair sticking up, phone in his hand, grinning at me like I told a joke in my sleep. "Bro," he said, "you're insane." My voice was still thick. "What?" He turned his phone around, showing me our streak. "Why are you sending streaks at 4 a.m.? You were dead out last night." I stared at the screen. Sent. 3:59 a.m. sent. 4:01 a.m. sent. 4:03 a.m. 3 streak snaps. All from me. Little blue arrow, my name. "I didn't," I said automatically. My mouth was dry. "Check the picture." He opened one. It was dark and grainy, but I could make out me. Sleeping. taken from somewhere near my desk. You could see the side of my face on the pillow, blanket pulled up to my shoulder. The light from the corridor slipping under the door in a thin strip. The second snap was closer. Just my face, mouth slightly open, hair flat on one side, that soft slackness people have when they're deeply asleep. The third one was almost too close. Half my face, my closed eye, the curve of my nose, the texture of my skin, every pore lit up by the slight glow from my charging phone on the bedside table. I felt something slide cold and heavy down my spine. "I didn't take these," I said. My voice sounded small, even to me. "Maybe you did and don't remember." Ollie shrugged. "People do weird stuff half asleep. Anyway, at least you're loyal. My friends cry if I miss one day." He put the phone down, already scrolling something else, laughing at some meme. I couldn't stop looking at my own screen. My stories showed sent snaps too. Same pictures, same times, same angle, but my memories were blank. I told myself it was a glitch, or a prank. Maybe Ollie had grabbed my phone while I snored. Maybe one of the guys had somehow come in. I told myself I was fine. I wasn't. That day, between classes, I changed my password. Made it long, complicated. Added two-factor authentication. Got the text, entered the code, saw the confirmation pop up. New login saved. Done. Secure. That night, I went to bed early. Or tried to. The room was hot and claustrophobic. The ceiling fan clacked with every rotation, making a ticking rhythm that got under my skin. The hallway light under the door made a dim line on the floor. Ollie was watching videos with his headphones in, his screen flashing blue and white across his face in the dark. "Don't let me forget to wake up at 6, I mumbled, rolling over. Han," he said absently. Eventually, the fan's clack merged with my own thoughts, and I drifted off. Somewhere in the middle of the night, I surfaced from a dream I don't remember. The kind of half-waking where you're aware of your body but too heavy to fully move. There was a soft sound, like fabric brushing against metal. My bed frame hummed almost imperceptibly, vibrating just a little. Could have been the fan. Could have been the building settling. And underneath it, barely there, I thought I heard a click, the faintest pressure on a touchscreen, the tiny mechanical whine of a phone camera focusing in the dark. I told myself I was imagining it. I rolled over, eyes still closed, and forced myself back down into sleep. If I had opened my eyes properly that night, maybe I would have seen something. Maybe I would have caught whoever was there. Or maybe I was not supposed to see. The next morning, Ollie said nothing. He was already rushing around, shoving books into his bag, spraying deodorant like it was protection against failure. I picked up my phone. 15 new snaps sent from my account. Most of them were to friends I actually streaked with, a couple to people I hadn't talked to in months. All between 3:45 and 4:20 a.m. My stomach churned. I opened one. I was there again, sleeping, same bed, same pillow, but this time the angle was slightly different, like the camera was slowly circling me over time. One shot from the foot of the bed, one from the side near the wall, one so close you could see the tiny scar under my left eye I'd forgotten about. The last snap was the worst. The camera was above me, looking straight down. You could see both my closed eyes, my whole face, the curve of my neck, the shadow of something long and pale at the top edge of the frame. Fingers. My fingers were under the blanket. These weren't mine. I changed my password again, deleted all logged-in devices, enabled every security setting the app had, backup codes, email confirmations, the whole thing. I even unlinked my phone number for a while, feeling weirdly exposed by the idea that something could reach me that way. I checked under the beds, behind the cupboard, above the ceiling fan, every corner where a camera could plausibly be hidden. The fluorescent tube light hummed above me, making the room feel like an interrogation scene. Nothing. No blinking red lights. No wires. No holes. Still, the snaps kept going out. My friends started joking about it. "Bro, why you send me your sleeping face every night?" One texted. "Are you okay? You look dead," another said. I laughed it off with some line about content while I grind in my dreams. But inside, it felt like my insides were being slowly wrung out, because the photos were getting closer, more detailed. You know that uncanny feeling when something is too close to your face? When you can see the texture of skin, the little gloss on the eyeball. One night, I opened a sent snap and almost dropped my phone. It was just my eye, closed, the crease of my eyelid, the tiny flutter of eyelashes caught mid-movement, the faint reflection of a screen in the thin film of moisture. The frame shook, barely, like the hand holding the phone had trembled. That day, I skipped class. I went to the campus IT office and asked if someone could be logging into my account from somewhere else. Some guy with tired eyes and coffee breath told me to check my login activity. So I did. Unknown device. Logged in at 3:39 a.m. Location: near you. The map pin was vague, right up on top of our hostel. Same as my phone. That night, I went to bed with my phone under my pillow, screen off, notifications muted. The room felt wrong. Too loud and too quiet at the same time. I could hear distant laughter from the floor below, someone arguing on a call, the elevator creaking as it moved. Ali knocked out around 1 a.m. His snores filled the space like static. I lay there, eyes open in the dark, watching the faint light from the corridor. 3 a.m., 3:07 a.m., 3:21 a.m. At some point, I must have drifted, because the next thing I remember is waking up to the soft chiming sound of a notification. Not from my phone, from Ali's. He mumbled something, half asleep, and reached for it. The glow lit up his face, then the side of my bed. The light made the shadows in the corners stretch and warp. He squinted at the screen, then frowned. "Saad," he said, voice thick. "What's wrong with you?" I pushed myself up on my elbow. "What?" He turned the phone toward me. A new snap, just received. From Saad Fire. I swallowed. "Open it." He did. It was live. 10 seconds. You could see the little timer ticking down in the corner. The camera was in our room. You could see Ali's sleeping form, blanket half kicked off, the side of my bed, and me, lying there, eyes closed, my phone under my pillow. The angle was from the foot of my bed, slightly low, like someone, and I hate saying this because it still makes my skin crawl, like someone was crouched there, looking up at us. Halfway through, the camera moved, slowly, crawling closer to my face. Ali snorted. "You're sick, bro. Are you pranking me?" "I'm not sending anything," I said. My voice came out too fast, too sharp. He looked at my hands. They were empty. His smile faded. My phone under my pillow buzzed. I grabbed it, opened Snapchat. There it was, in my Sent tab. Same video, same timestamp. Sent just now. To Ali. To 3 other people. To a girl I hadn't spoken to in months. Before I could react, another snap sent itself. I watched it happen. The little blue arrow appeared next to a friend's name. No camera sound. No preview. Just gone. Like something was using my eyes while I was not looking. My heart was hammering so hard I could feel it in my fingertips. My skin felt too tight for my body. Then, a message appeared in the chat window. From my account. Typing. Then, "Don't worry. He's still asleep." Ali read it over my shoulder. I felt him flinch away from me, his breath catching. "Okay, stop," he said, anger and fear all tangled up. "This isn't funny. What are you doing?" "I'm not doing anything," I snapped back. "I swear to God, I'm not." He stared at me for a long second. Then his eyes flicked around the room, like he was expecting someone to step out from behind the wardrobe. "Let's get out," he said. We grabbed our keys, didn't bother with shoes. We left the room lights off. Every sound in the corridor felt amplified. The echo of our footsteps, the hum of the elevator shaft, the buzz of the emergency light. We spent the rest of the night downstairs in the common room with the TV on, both of us pretending to watch some old movie while my phone sat face down on the table between us. It still vibrated every now and then. Sent, sent, sent. The next day, I moved out. Officially, it was because my parents wanted me closer to my uncle's house. Unofficially, it was because I refused to spend another night in that room. I changed passwords, changed numbers, changed devices. Snapchat support sent me boring, robotic emails about unusual activity and how to secure my account. I deleted the app, reinstalled, deleted again. Still, the login alerts kept coming. New login from device near your location. Login attempt from a new device. Was this you? Sometimes they'd show odd, shifting locations like whoever or whatever was using my account was moving, circling. Sometimes, in the middle of the night, my email would ping. Hi Saad. Your Snapchat account was just accessed. Time: 3:04 a.m. 3:16 a.m. 3:29 a.m. Always when I was asleep, or trying to be. Eventually, I made a new account. No real name, no Bitmoji, no friends, just a blank presence. For a while, it was quiet. Then one night, sitting in my new apartment in Karachi, surrounded by unfamiliar furniture and the smell of fresh paint and dust, my phone vibrated. New friend suggestion. People you may know. At the top of the list was my old username. Same Bitmoji. Same streak count with people I'd stopped talking to. Same stupid flame number. Active now. I didn't add it. I didn't touch it. But I tapped the profile. Status? In chat. With who, it wouldn't show me. But the little green dot was there. Alive. I backed out. Locked my phone. Turned it face down. Tried to breathe normally. I told myself it was a cache problem. Old data. A mirrored glitch. But later that night, half drifting, I felt my bed tremble softly. Not like someone shaking it. More like a vibration. Rhythmic. Continuous. Like the buzz of a phone against a mattress, over and over while message after message goes out. Sometimes I lie awake and think about all those pictures. All those snaps from angles I never saw. All those close-ups of my sleeping face saved on a device I don't control anymore. He has my old memories, my old friends, my old flame counts, my old self, locked in little 10-second loops. Whoever he is, he still has my streaks. So if you wake up one day and your friends ask why you were sending snaps at 4 in the morning, check your sent tab carefully. Look at the angles. Ask yourself if you actually remember taking them. And if you ever get a message from your own account saying not to worry because you're still asleep, don't stay in that room another night. Don't give him more to work with. He only needs you to close your eyes. My name is Fahad. I'm 25. I work in a small software house in Islamabad, and I spend most of my day staring at screens. Out of all the apps I've used, the one that still scares me the most is Snapchat. Not because of what I posted, because of the face that started posting itself. Even now, if you open my profile, you'd see a Bitmoji smiling back at you in a yellow hoodie. Same hairstyle as me, same glasses, same clothes I chose years ago. But I didn't make the face it's wearing now. And I can't change it back. Before all this, I was normal, boring even, code, chai, commute, complain about salary, complain about load shedding, laugh at memes with colleagues. Snapchat was just another distraction. Streaks, stupid filters, those little cartoon versions of ourselves we made fun of. I remember the night it happened too clearly. Not because it was special, because it was so ordinary it almost doesn't make sense that everything broke right there. It was a Tuesday, late. I'd just come home from work, my head buzzing from too many Jira tickets. The apartment was quiet, one of those old two-bedroom places with low ceilings and a faint smell of old paint and cooking oil trapped in the walls. The fan ticked overhead. The corridor light outside my door kept flickering, casting a weak yellow glow through the gap at the bottom. I was lying on my bed with my back against the wall, phone plugged in, that familiar warmth building under the case. I'd been putting off updating my Bitmoji for weeks. Stupid thing to care about, but it felt like a small way to feel in control, I guess. Change my hair, change my clothes, pretend I was someone more put together than I really was. I should have listened to that feeling. I tell myself now, the tiny, stupid hesitation right before I tapped Edit Bitmoji. I went through the usual screens. Face shape, eyebrows, jawline. I changed the hairstyle, made it a bit more like my current cut. Squinted at the eyes, trying to make them look less tired. Same hoodie, though. Yellow. Always the yellow. I hit save. The app froze. Not just a small stutter. The entire screen locked up. Tap, swipe. Nothing. The audio in the background cut. Like my phone was holding its breath. Then Snapchat crashed. The home screen popped back up. My wallpaper, some blurry photo I'd taken of blue sky and electric wires, looked suddenly too bright. The phone felt hot in my hand, the warmth of the battery seeping into my palm, a little sticky with sweat. I told myself it was just a bug. Opened Snapchat again. It loaded like normal. Stories, chats, all the noise. Then I saw it. Top left corner. My profile icon. Same yellow hoodie. Same hairstyle. Same glasses. But the face wasn't mine. The skin tone was right. The jawline. The nose. But the eyes were wrong. They were slightly too big, pupils a little too dark, with faint gray smudges under them like bruises. And the mouth, God. The mouth was pulled into this wide, stitched-looking grin. Not actual stitches, not cartoon lines. Just a smile stretched too far, like the edges of the lips had been pinned in place. I stared at it for a good 30 seconds without breathing properly. That was the first sign something was wrong. Then I laughed. Out loud. A short, shaky sound that didn't feel like me. Glitch, I said to the empty room. Nice one. I tapped my Bitmoji. Went into edit. Inside the editor, everything looked normal. My regular face stared back at me. The softer expression I'd carefully picked. Neutral mouth. Tired eyes. Me. I hit save again. Backed out. The profile icon snapped back into place with that little bounce animation. Same hoodie. Same hair. Same wrong face. Now the eyes looked like they were squinting at me. Same stitched grin. I felt a chill move through the room like someone had opened a window, even though everything was shut. Goosebumps rose along my arms. Tiny points of cold against the warmth of the phone. I told myself I was fine. I wasn't. I spent the next 10 minutes trying to fix it. Change the eyebrows, save. Change the eyes, save. Every time the editor showed my changes. Every time the profile icon went back to that face. Like something behind the scenes was snapping it back into place when I wasn't looking. I finally gave up. Closed the app. Tried to shake it off. It was just a stupid avatar. Just pixels. Then the messages started. First, it was my friend Bilal. Bro, why'd you change your face? Face with tears of joy, he sent. I stared at the text, felt my stomach twist. What do you mean? Your Bitmoji, he replied. You look creepy now. New aesthetic. I didn't answer. 2 more messages came in that evening. Your avatar looks cursed skull. Why is it smiling like that? Bro, your Bitmoji eyes are scaring me on Snap Map WTF. I hadn't even opened Snap Map. I told myself I'd deal with it the next day. Maybe reinstall the app. Maybe contact support. I was tired, and the fan was just pushing warm air around, making my skin feel sticky and gross. I plugged my phone in on the bedside table, face down, and turned off the light. I don't know what time I drifted off, but I remember the room as it was right before sleep fully took me. Thick darkness, only a faint line of light under the door from the corridor. The smell of old wood from the wardrobe mixing with the plastic heat of electronics. At some point in that syrupy space between sleeping and waking, I heard it. A soft little buzz. Not the main vibration. The smaller sound. The one only Snapchat makes when it sends something. I ignored it. Another buzz. Screen lighting up faintly against the wall. I rolled over, half awake now, and reached for the phone. Before I could touch it, it buzzed again. This time it felt wrong. Too intentional. Like someone tapping me on the shoulder. I sat up, heart rate ticking up a notch. The room felt colder, the air heavier somehow. My throat was dry. I picked up the phone. There, at the top of the chat list, was something that shouldn't exist. New snap from Fahad Alien Monster. My own name, my own emoji, my own account. I just stared for a second, brain refusing to accept what my eyes were seeing. My thumb hovered, hesitated, then tapped. The video opened. It was my room. The angle was low, like someone was crouched near the floor. You could see the bottom half of my bedroom door, the little strip of light glowing underneath from the corridor. The walls looked slightly greenish in the dimness. The audio was almost nothing at first, just a faint hum. Then I heard it, breathing, very close to the microphone, slow, irregular. Inhale, pause, exhale. A faint wet sound, like the person's nose was blocked. The camera zoomed in a little bit toward the door, not with the smooth in-app zoom. A slow, jerky movement like a hand was physically moving the phone closer. From where I was sitting on my bed, I looked up. Same door, same line of light, same angle. The hair on the back of my neck stood up, each strand prickling as if something was hovering just behind me. In the video, the breathing hitched. Then a whisper brushed across the speaker. "This is what I really look like." The voice was mine, not just similar. Mine. Same tone, same rhythm, but dragged out, like someone was playing me slightly slower than real time. There was a subtle grit under it that made my skin crawl. The snap ended. For a second, all I could hear was my own breathing, now too fast, too loud in the quiet room. My hands were shaking so badly the screen blurred. I backed out to the chat list. A new message had appeared. From Fahad Alien Monster. Just a Bitmoji face next to my name. Same yellow hoodie, same hair. But now the profile icon was animated, mouth opening slightly wider as if mid-laugh, eyes lifting to look directly at me. I don't remember making the decision. I just remember the feeling. Blind, hot panic. I stood up so fast the bed creaked. The phone slipped from my grip, hit the edge of the table, clattered to the floor. The charger popped out. The impact made the screen flash. Then the light went out. For a moment, the room was completely dark. Then the phone lit up again by itself. Not the lock screen, the camera, front camera. My face filled the display, washed out in cold white light, eyes wide, mouth slightly open. Behind me, in the black space near the wardrobe, something else shifted. A suggestion of features. A second face barely visible, smiling in the dark. Not stitched, not cartoon. Human, stretched, grinning. I snapped. I grabbed the phone with both hands and slammed it down on the edge of the bed frame. Plastic cracked. The sound echoed off the walls, sharp and too loud. I hit it again, and again, until the glass shattered under my palm, sending tiny needles into my skin. By the time I stopped, my breath was coming in ragged bursts. My right hand was bleeding, and the room smelled like hot plastic and iron. The screen finally died. The apartment settled into silence. I didn't sleep at all that night. I sat with my back against the wall, knees up, injured hand wrapped in an old t-shirt, staring at the dark rectangle of the broken phone on the floor like it might get up and crawl toward me. The next day, I told myself it was a breakdown. Stress, burnout, the mind playing tricks when it's too tired. I bought a new phone, different brand, new number, new email. I told myself I'd stay off social media. That lasted 3 days. By the 4th, I'd installed Snapchat again. Habit, muscle memory. Felt stupid to be scared of an app. I used a different username, new Bitmoji, different clothes, different hair. I didn't even make it look like me this time. For a while, everything was normal. No weird faces, no late night snaps, no wrong angles of my door. Then, about a week in, I opened the app one evening and felt my stomach drop straight through me. Top left corner, profile icon, same hoodie, same glasses, same sunken eyes and stitched grin I thought I'd smashed into plastic dust. I went into edit. Inside, the avatar was the normal one I'd created. Different clothes, different face. Outside, on my profile, on my friends' lists, it was him. Support never answered my emails. Or maybe they did, with copy-paste, we're looking into it nonsense. I don't really remember. It stopped being about the app at some point. It started being about the feeling of being watched whenever I saw that little face near my name. The sense that somewhere, behind whatever filter or avatar I put on, something else had decided to wear me. Now, when I look at my Bitmoji on Snap Map, I avoid tapping it. I avoid letting it get too close to the edge of the screen, because sometimes, if I stare a second too long, the animation stutters. The eyes stop looking at whatever they're supposed to be looking at. They look up at me, and the smile tightens, just a little, like it's struggling against invisible thread. I haven't tried changing my avatar in months. I don't touch that menu. My friends think I'm just lazy, or that I like this creepy vibe. The truth is simpler. I'm scared of what I'll see if I open that editor again. Scared that this time, the face inside and the face outside will match. Scared I'll be staring at myself, but with someone else behind my eyes, grinning like they finally got a perfect fit. So if you're listening to this and you go to change your Bitmoji later, and the app hangs a little too long, if it crashes and reopens and your face looks just a bit off, the eyes a little too dark, the smile a little too wide, don't save it. Don't brush it off as a glitch, because once it shows you what it really looks like, it doesn't go back. And breaking your phone doesn't matter if the thing wearing your face is already inside every new one. My name is Imran. I'm 24, living now in a crowded house with my parents and sisters in Rawalpindi, pretending I just moved back to save money. That's the easy version. The real reason I left my old place is an alley, a back door I never used, and a tiny animated version of myself that started walking without me. I still keep my Snap map off. Completely off. Ghost mode forever. You would too if you saw what I saw. Back then, I was doing what everyone does. Working a boring bank job during the day, wasting my evenings on my phone. I rented a small apartment near Murray Road. 1 bedroom, a narrow lounge, low ceiling, and that permanent smell of damp walls and fried onions from the neighbors cooking. The flat had 2 doors. The main one, opening to the stairwell, and a back door that led to a narrow service alley. When I moved in, the landlord told me, "Don't use that one. It gets jammed. Just keep it locked." So I did. For months, I never touched it. I even hung an old jacket on the handle so I wouldn't have to look at it directly. Most nights, my routine was the same. Come home, heat up leftover food, watch something, then scroll. Snapchat was my favorite. I liked seeing the little Bitmojis of my friends scattered around the city, moving as they traveled, clustering at weddings, disappearing late at night. It made me feel less alone. That's important for you to understand. I liked seeing where everyone was. I liked knowing people could see me too. That tiny animated me on the map felt safe, cute, harmless. That was the first sign something was wrong, actually. The way I treated that little cartoon like proof that I existed. It was a Thursday evening when it started. I remember the weather. Heavy, humid, the air thick and sticky. The fan in my lounge was just stirring the warm air around. The window was open a crack. I could hear traffic, a distant motorcycle revving too loud, the occasional honk. I was lying on the sofa, one leg dangling, phone above my face. I opened Snap Map out of habit, pinching and zooming around to see who was where. My friends were spread out, blinking on and off as their GPS updated. A colleague at Centaurus, my cousin at his coaching center, a group near a chai spot. Then I looked at my own Bitmoji. At first, I didn't notice anything strange. I was just there, near my pinned address, my street, my building. The little figure in my hoodie. Nothing unusual. Then, as I watched, it moved. Not teleported. Not jumped from one spot to another like when the GPS corrects itself. It walked. Slowly. Smoothly. My Bitmoji took a tiny step forward on the map. Then another. Then another. The little circular, live location ring pulsed around it in time. I frowned, zooming in. It was walking down the street. The problem was, I wasn't. I was still on my sofa. In shorts. Barefoot. Phone in my hand. I hit refresh, swiping down. The map blinked, reloaded, and for a second everything froze. Then my Bitmoji kept walking. Turned a corner. Moved past my building. Then, slowly, started curving around to the back. My heart did this weird stutter thing, like it missed a beat and then tried to catch up. My fingers felt suddenly colder against the warm glass of my phone. GPS glitch, I told myself. It happens. Relax. I opened Google Maps to check my location. The blue dot popped up right where it should be, on my building, my flat. No drift, no extra movement. Back on Snap Map, my Bitmoji was still walking. By now, it wasn't near the front of my building anymore. It was sliding along the thin gray line that represented the side road, heading toward the back, right where the alley was, right where the back door I never used would open. I swallowed. The lounge suddenly felt smaller. The shadows in the corners seemed thicker, like the light from the single tube light wasn't reaching properly. I told myself I was being stupid, that it was code and pixels, nothing more. But some part of me, deep in my chest, already knew something was wrong. The fan above me creaked as it turned. A drop of condensation fell from the window frame and hit the tile with a faint tick. The fridge hummed in the kitchenette, that low constant vibration you stop hearing until you're listening for it. I turned the volume on my phone down. The silence felt heavier afterward. I watched the map. My Bitmoji slowed down as it reached the back of the building. Then it stopped completely, right behind the little rectangle that represented my flat, right where the alley was, right where that unused door was. The live location ring pulsed once, twice, then stayed. I don't know how long I stared at the screen, but my eyes started burning. I blinked hard, vision blurring for a second. That's when I heard it. Footsteps. Not in the stairwell. Not above me or in the hall. Behind me. Through the wall. Through the back. Slow, heavy, deliberate steps on concrete. Too close to be anywhere else. You know how footsteps sound different indoors versus outdoors? These sounded like they were in an open space. The faint echo, the slightly hollow impact. Right where the alley was. The back of my neck prickled. Goosebumps crawled down my arms like cold ants. My tongue felt too big in my dry mouth. I turned my head, very slowly, toward the closed kitchen door that led to the area near the back. The jacket hanging on the unseen door handle rustled. Just a little. A soft brushing sound, like fabric being disturbed by air or movement on the other side. My phone vibrated in my hand, nearly making me drop it. New snap from Imran round pushpin. My own name, my own emoji. I stared at the notification until it faded. Then I tapped it. The snap opened. It was a video, shaky and grainy in the low light. The camera was pointed at a metal door from the inside. My metal door. I knew it from the dents near the bottom and the rust stain on the left. But the angle wasn't from my lounge. It was from the back. You could see the bottom of the frame of the back door, the flaking paint, the cheap lock. The audio was mostly static, but underneath it I heard the same slow footsteps. A breath. Damp, raspy. The camera moved closer. You could see the thin gap between the door and the floor, a sliver of deeper darkness. Something shifted in that gap, just a shadow, but it felt wrong. Like someone was standing right outside, their weight making the faintest motion in the space below. My chest tightened. It felt like someone had shoved a fist between my ribs and was slowly twisting. In the video, the camera tilted a little. For a split second, I saw something on the door, for faint marks near the edge, like someone had dragged their fingers down the metal. The breathing grew louder. Then a whisper came through. Not from the speaker, from somewhere else. Close. You're here, it breathed. I see you. The snap ended. I didn't realize how hard I was gripping the phone until I felt the edges biting into my palm. My other hand had curled into a fist without me noticing, nails digging crescents into my skin. In the silence after the video, the real footsteps started again. 1, 2, 3, moving along the back of the building, right past where my kitchen wall was. Each step was slow, deliberate, not rushed, not nervous, like they already knew exactly where I was. I stood up too fast, the blood rushing out of my head for a second. The room swayed. A wave of dizziness washed over me, making the shadows tilt. The footsteps stopped, right where the back door would be. I could hear my own heartbeat now, loud and uneven. The air felt thicker, harder to pull into my lungs. The smell of the room changed. Underneath the usual cooking smell, there was something else. Damp, like wet concrete and old pipes. A faint metallic edge, like rust or blood. I didn't go to the back door. I went the other way, I grabbed the bathroom door, slipped inside, and locked it. The small space smelled like old tiles and cleaning liquid. The fluorescent light flickered once when I turned it on, humming. My phone buzzed again. New chat from Imran round pushpin. I shouldn't have looked. I know that now. I should have thrown the phone in the laundry bucket, sat on the floor, and waited for morning. But I looked. The message preview showed just one sentence. Open the door. My hands shook so hard I almost dropped the phone into the sink. I tapped the chat. A map filled the screen. Snap map. Zoomed all the way in. The building block was a simple gray shape. The alley behind it, a thin line. The bathroom, if you knew the layout, was just a small square inside. My Bitmoji was standing in the alley, directly behind where the bathroom was. Not at the main door, not at the lounge. Right behind me, the location ring pulsed, perfectly in sync with the sound I heard next. Knock, not loud, not frantic. Just one, slow, dull knock against metal from the other side of the wall. I almost screamed, but the sound came out strangled, stuck in my throat as a kind of whimper. Another knock, same rhythm, then scraping. Something hard dragged along the outside wall. It made my teeth ache, that chalkboard, metal on concrete screech. I put a hand over my mouth, fingers pressing into my face to keep any sound in. The footsteps moved again, slowly, up the wall. I know how insane that sounds. I know, but that's what it felt like. Each step was a little higher, like something was climbing, pressing into the concrete, making the faintest vibration carry through the pipes. Above my head, the bathroom ventilator was just a square of darkness. Old metal grill, rust stains around the edges. The scraping stopped right there. The light flickered again. Once, twice. On Snap Map, my Bitmoji didn't move. It just stood there in the alley, tiny hands by its sides, a little smile on its face, like it was waiting. I don't know how long I stayed in that bathroom. Time got weird. Every minute felt stretched. The light hummed. My legs started to shake from standing. At some point, I slid down onto the floor, back against the door, phone clutched to my chest. I must have dozed off sitting up, because the next thing I remember clearly is a thin, pale light coming through the ventilator and the sound of birds somewhere outside. Morning. My whole body hurt. My neck was stiff, my knees numb. When I finally opened the bathroom door, the flat looked exactly the same, except for the back door. The jacket I'd hung on the handle had fallen, or been pulled. It lay on the floor in a crumpled heap. The lock on the back door was still in place, but the metal around it, the metal was dented. For small impressions in the paint, like fingers had pressed in from the outside with impossible strength. I didn't check Snap Map again that day. I didn't check it the next day either. Instead, I called my father, told him the rent was too high, told him I wanted to move back home. For a while, I said it in a casual voice, like it was no big deal. I was packed within a week. On the last night, just before leaving the flat for good, I made one mistake. I opened Snapchat. Just to delete the account properly, I told myself. To make sure there was nothing left logged in on that device. I tapped Snap Map one last time. The screen zoomed out on its own, further than it usually does. Out of my city, out of my country, the whole map, a web of roads and faint green. Then it zoomed back in somewhere else. A random street I'd never been to, a neighborhood I didn't recognize. And there, walking slowly down a narrow lane, was my Bitmoji. Same clothes, same face, same slow, careful footsteps. The live ring pulsed. Then it stopped in front of a gray rectangle that could have been any building on any street. Stood there, facing the shape, waiting. A new chat notification appeared under it. Here, from Imran round pushpin. I deleted the app. Factory reset the phone. Got a new number when I moved. But sometimes, late at night in my parents' house, I'll wake up and hear it again. Footsteps. Not in the hallway. Not on the roof. Outside. Slow, heavy steps along the back of the house, where no one ever walks. The sound of weight on earth, then on concrete, then pausing right where the bathroom window is. The pace is always the same. The distance between each step never changes. like it learned the perfect rhythm that night. My phone is clean now. No snap map, no Bitmoji, no location shared anywhere. But every now and then, I'll get an email I can't fully explain. Your account was accessed from a new location, it says, referring to a username I don't use anymore. No device listed. Just a line. Live location. Enabled. So if you still use Snap Map, and you see your Bitmoji walking somewhere you're not, don't laugh it off. Don't assume it's just GPS being stupid. Look at where it stops. Look at what's behind the building. And if you ever hear footsteps match that movement on the map, step for step, right outside your back door, don't go check. Don't open it to prove you're brave. Some things only need your location once. After that, they can walk wherever they want with you. My name is Zain. I'm 23, living in Lahore, and I still tape over every front camera in my house like some paranoid conspiracy uncle. It looks ridiculous. I know exactly how it looks, but when you've seen your own face on a screen with someone else standing perfectly still behind you, someone who isn't there when you turn around, you stop caring how you look to other people. You just care about not seeing it again. This was last winter. I was still in university then, staying in a small rented portion near campus. Ground floor, 1-bedroom, lounge, tiny kitchen. The walls were thin, the paint was cracked, and there was that permanent smell of damp plaster and old wood, like the house had been wet at some point and never fully dried. I spent most of my nights exactly how you're probably spending yours right now. Lying in bed, room lights off, just the bluish glow of my phone lighting my face. Snapping friends, sending streaks, scrolling through stories. The only sound was the ceiling fan ticking overhead and the occasional dog barking in the street. It wasn't a bad life, just empty. Classes in the morning, part-time call center shift in the evening, and those hours in between where you're awake but not really living. Screens fill that space. That matters, because I was used to seeing my own face in that little camera. Used to the bad angles, the dark circles under my eyes, the oily skin. It was familiar, so I knew immediately when something was wrong. Started small, little glitches. A few days before that night, I remember opening the front camera to check my hair before going out. Normal habit. The lights in the lounge were warm and dim. The reflection on the screen made my face look a bit more orange than usual. For less than a second, literally a blink, I saw something behind me in the doorway. Just a darker smear in the shadows. Too tall to be the coat hanging on the hook. I blinked. It was gone. The app focused, everything sharpened. I laughed it off, told myself my brain was just catching shapes. "You need sleep, Zain," I muttered. That was the first sign something was wrong. Another time, during a late-night video call, my friend joked, "Bro, why is your curtain moving?" My heart jumped. I whipped around so fast my neck cracked. The curtain was perfectly still. I turned back to the screen and asked him what he meant. He shrugged it off. Lag, maybe. Looked like someone walked past. We both laughed. I told myself I was fine. I wasn't. The night it happened, I'd just gotten back from my shift. My throat was raw from repeating the same greeting 100 times. I took a quick shower. The water was lukewarm at best, the bathroom tiles freezing under my feet, and then I collapsed onto my bed with my phone. It was just after midnight. The fan creaked overhead. The only light in the room was the rectangle in my hand. I remember the smell. That mix of cheap body wash, old wood, and the faint metallic cold of the night air slipping through the poorly sealed window. My blanket was warm on my legs, but my arms were cold where they stuck out holding the phone. I started sending streaks, stupid faces, random captions. I opened the front camera on Snapchat to send a snap to my friend Hamad. Normal filter, the one that just smooths your skin a bit. No dog ears, no hearts. Just me. I saw my own face on the screen, lit by that harsh white light. My eyes looked more tired than usual. My hair was doing that lazy fall to one side. Behind me in the frame was the corner of my room. The closed door, the wardrobe, a patch of wall with a crack running down it. I lifted my hand to adjust the angle. That's when the screen froze. Not the app. The timer was still going. The little emoji in the corner still pulsed. But the image stopped. My mouth was half open mid-word and just stayed like that. My blinking reflex, the tiny movements we make even when we're still, all of that disappeared from the screen. I frowned. I tilted my head. I felt my neck move, but the Zane on the screen didn't. He stayed frozen in that slightly open-mouthed expression. For a few seconds, my brain couldn't process what I was seeing. It was such a small, wrong thing that it didn't compute. I waved my free hand in front of the camera. On the screen, nothing moved. I remember this weird, hot-cold wave passing through my chest. My fingers tightened around the phone. My breathing got louder in my ears. Then, on the screen, behind my frozen reflection, something changed. In the left corner of the frame, near the door, the darkness shifted. Peeled away from the wall, like a shadow standing up. A woman stepped into view. Tall, too tall. Her head almost grazed the top of the frame. She was thin in that way that doesn't look healthy. Shoulders narrow, arms long, the sleeves of some dark fabric hanging loose. Her hair was long and black and completely covering her face. A curtain that moved just slightly at the ends like it was underwater. She wasn't transparent. She wasn't glitchy. She was there, solid, taking up space in the image. And she was perfectly still. No breathing, no sway, no fidgeting. Just a vertical, unnatural stillness that made my skin crawl. I felt every tiny hair on my arms stand up. My brain went into this strange double state. Half of it was screaming that it was a filter, a prank, some AR effect I'd accidentally turned on. The other half was counting all the filters I knew and coming up empty. She didn't have that Snapchat look. No outlines. No smoothing. The light hit her hair the same way it hit the wardrobe. Just a dull, dead gloss. I couldn't hear anything except my own breathing now. The fans ticking faded into the background. The room around me suddenly felt wrong. Warmer near my face, colder on my back, like something was standing close behind me, blocking the air. I told myself, don't turn around. If I had known what was coming, I would have thrown the phone away and run to my parents' house in the middle of the night. Instead, I broke. I spun around so fast the bed creaked under me. The room was empty, just my closed door, my wardrobe, the crack in the wall, shadows where they were supposed to be, nothing else. The air felt thick, though, heavy, like someone had just left the room and the space hadn't reset yet. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my teeth. My hands were trembling so badly that the phone almost slipped when I turned back to it. The screen unfroze. The image caught up with reality. The camera showed me wide-eyed, panicked, twisting back toward it. The woman was gone. The corner behind me was just a corner. It was like the snap had been buffering some nightmare version of my room and then decided to go live again. I stared at my own terrified face on the screen. My lips were pale. There were tears in my eyes I hadn't realized were there. Lag, I whispered. Just lag. Just lag. I didn't believe myself. I exited the app, cleared it from recent, opened the normal camera, the default one. Face, wall, door. No woman. I paced around my tiny room, feeling the rough coldness of the tile under my bare feet. I opened the door, checked the hallway, checked under the bed like a child. The house smelled normal again. Dust, detergent, the faint lingering scent of my mother's cooking from earlier. Could have let it go there. I should have let it go there. But fear makes you curious. Fear makes you check things you shouldn't. It was around 2 a.m. when the message came. I hadn't opened Snapchat again. I was on YouTube trying to drown everything out with some random gaming video, the volume low. My phone vibrated with that specific haptic thud that only Snap uses. New message from just.watching. No Bitmoji. No display picture. Username in plain white text with a dark gray background. I didn't remember adding them. No mutuals. I opened it with this horrible, sinking feeling already in my stomach. There was only one line. She's not behind you anymore. I stopped breathing. It was such a simple sentence. No emojis. No threats. No context. But my whole body reacted to it like I'd been slapped. My skin went ice cold. My eyes started watering again. The fans ticking suddenly sounded unbearably loud, like someone tapping a fingernail against the blades. I looked up, Not at the door this time, but at the screen of my phone reflected faintly in the black glass of the turned-off TV across the room. My silhouette, hunched on the bed, a small glowing rectangle in my hands. Nothing else. Still, the sentence sat there. She's not behind you anymore. My first thought was, so where is she? My second thought was, how did they know what I saw? I typed with fingers that felt thick and numb. Who is this? No reply. Is this a joke? Send. No reply. I clicked their profile. Snap score was low. No stories, no public friends. Just the username. Joined recently. A thin mechanical rattle sounded somewhere above me. The fan. Or something else. The house felt like it was holding its breath. I blocked the account. Then I did something I'm not proud of. I put the phone face down on the floor, stepped on it once, hard. Not enough to crack it, but enough to feel that pressure transfer through, enough to feel like I was punishing the object in my hand for showing me something I didn't want to see. I turned off the Wi-Fi, turned off mobile data, switched the phone off completely until the screen went black and the little afterglow bled out. The room was dark now. No hum from the charger. No notifications. Just me and the sound of distant cars and the ticking fan. I slept in fits that night. Every time I drifted off, I'd jerk awake with the sensation that something was inches from my face. That if I opened my eyes, I'd see long hair hanging over my pillow. When morning light finally leaked in through the thin curtains, it felt unreal. Like I'd survived something without understanding what it was. I switched phones a week later. Told my parents mine was acting up. Got a cheaper model, different brand. New number. New accounts. I didn't install Snapchat again for months. When I finally caved and did, because of course I did, because we're addicted to these things more than we admit, I avoided the front camera like it was poisonous. No more late-night selfies. No more streaks in bed. If I had to use it, I did it in bright rooms with people around, with noise and life and movement crowding out the silence where she had first appeared. But it doesn't really matter, because whatever happened that night, it wasn't just a glitch. Even now, on this newest phone, when I open the front camera, the same thing happens. Just for a split second. The screen flickers. So fast you'd miss it if you blinked. A tiny black bar. A momentary lag. A frame that doesn't quite belong. Long enough to let something slip through. Or out. Long enough to remind me that once, my reflection froze while something else moved behind me. The last time it happened, I swear on everything, that for that single flicker, my own face wasn't looking back at me. My eyes were a little too dark. My mouth was a little too still. And there was the faintest suggestion of hair, not falling down, but rising up, like there was no gravity where she was. Or like she isn't behind me anymore. She's in front. So if you're listening to this at night, phone inches from your face, front camera open while you send some half-awake streak. Pay attention the next time your screen freezes for no reason. Don't trust the first image that comes back when it unfreezes. And if you ever get a message from a random account that says she's not behind you anymore, ask yourself where else she could be. Then turn the camera off before it decides to show you. My name is Arm. I'm 22, back living with my parents in a small house on the edge of Lahore, pretending it's because I'm saving rent. That's not why I came home. I came home because of one night, one message, and the knowledge that someone was close enough to breathe under my bed while I slept on top of it. I didn't always jump at my phone lighting up in the dark. Before this, I was like everyone else my age, chronically online, half alive, half scrolling. I was renting a single room in a shared house near my university. It was nothing special. Faded cream walls, a metal bed, a wobbly study table, a cheap wardrobe that smelled like old wood and mothballs. I was stressed that week. Assignments, a fight with my girlfriend, money problems. I hadn't been sleeping well. That matters because lack of sleep makes you doubt your own senses. The house itself had a feeling. You know that stale, shut-in smell some places never lose? Damp plaster, old dust, a hint of mildew from a bathroom that never really dries. At night it got worse. The walls seemed to trap the day's sweat, food smells, everyone's breath, and then exhale it slowly after midnight. The first thing that was off wasn't the message. It was the door. The week before that night, I started waking up to find my room door not quite how I'd left it. I always slept with it locked, bolt slid across, handle turned up firmly. Living with other guys, you get protective over your space. But some mornings, the handle would be slightly turned down. The bolt would feel not loose, but like it had been tested. Just enough to make a faint scrape mark on the paint. The first sign something was wrong happened on a Tuesday. I remember lying in bed, lights off, phone 2 inches from my face. The fan above me clicked with each rotation, shaking just enough to rattle its loose screws. Outside, a dog barked once, then stopped. The house was quiet in that heavy way old buildings get at night. You can feel the pipes in the walls, the distant hum of someone's fridge, the occasional creak like bones settling. I was watching stories, replying to memes. My eyes burned. My thumb moved automatically. I felt wired and exhausted at the same time. Then, for a second, I heard it. Soft, a gentle scrape along my door, like fingernails dragging lightly over wood. I froze. The fan kept clicking. My breathing suddenly sounded too loud in my ears. I told myself it was one of the guys in the house. Someone going to the bathroom, brushing the wall by accident. I didn't get up. I didn't check. I told myself I was fine. I wasn't. The night everything happened, I was alone in the house for the first time. My roommates had gone home for a cousin's wedding. They'd invited me, but I had a quiz the next morning. Or that's what I told them. The truth was, I'd started to enjoy being alone. It meant I could sit with my thoughts and not have to fake being okay. It was a Thursday, winter. The air had that biting chill that seeped through the gaps in the windows. I remember making instant noodles in the communal kitchen. The smell of cheap masala filling the tiny space, steam fogging the single flickering tube light overhead. My phone buzzed on the counter. I wiped my hands and picked it up. New chat from no underscore, no bitmoji, no profile picture. The username was just that, underscores and letters. No mutual friends. No in your contacts tag. I should have blocked them immediately. I should have listened to that small drop in my gut. Instead, I opened the chat. There was only one message. Don't leave your room tonight. That was it. No hello. No explanation. Just that sentence sitting there in the gray bubble. For a few seconds, I just stared at it. The kitchen light buzzing above me, the noodles going soggy in the saucepan. My first thought was that one of my roommates was messing with me. My second thought was nothing, just a blank fear, like my brain refused to press further. I typed back, "Who is this?" Before I could hit send, the message changed. Not disappeared. Changed. The gray bubble blurred, the letters dissolving like ink in water, and then the whole chat cleared itself. My reply vanished too, cursor blinking in an empty field. There was no "this chat has been cleared" notification. No message deleted label. Just nothing. The username was still at the top. No underscore name. Last seen just now. The smell of the noodles suddenly turned my stomach. The kitchen felt narrower, the walls closer. The small window above the sink showed only darkness outside. My own faint reflection staring back. I told myself it was a glitch. Maybe I'd imagined the message. Maybe I was more tired than I thought. I took my food back to my room, locked the door, slid the bolt across, checked it twice. The metal was cold under my fingers. The wood smelled faintly of dust and cheap varnish. The house seemed bigger and emptier than usual. Without the other guys' voices, every sound echoed. The creak of the stairs, the gurgle of the pipes, the occasional clang of something expanding and cooling in the walls. I tried to study. The words on the page blurred. My eyes kept drifting back to my phone. Nothing new. By midnight, the text in front of me might as well have been a different language. I gave up, switched off the main light, and climbed into bed. I lay on my side, facing the wall, the warmth of the blanket already losing against the creeping cold seeping through the mattress. My bed was one of those metal frame ones with a thin foam mattress that dips in the middle. There was just enough space underneath for boxes, or for a person to slide under if they really wanted to. I hadn't thought about that before that night. I plugged my phone in, the cable making that faint plastic squeak against the side table. The only light in the room was the weak glow from the charging indicator and the soft gray from the street filtering through the curtains. For a while, nothing happened. The fan ticked. A bike roared past outside. Somewhere in the house, a pipe made that hollow knocking sound like someone thumping on the wall from inside. I must have dozed, because the next thing I remember clearly is waking up to a sound that didn't belong. Rustling, right outside my door. Not loud, not like someone trying to break in. Just movement, cloth brushing wood, a faint weight shifting. My eyes snapped open, my heart already racing like my body had heard it before my brain. I held my breath. The sound came again, a slow, dragging noise right against the wood, like fingernails, like testing, tracing the outline of the door from outside. My throat went dry. I could taste metal and stale air at the back of my mouth. My skin prickled, goosebumps crawling over my arms and legs under the blanket. There is a special kind of silence that follows a sound that should not be there. It's not empty. It's full of waiting. I reached slowly for my phone on the side table, my hand shaking so badly my fingertips brushed the wall first. The charging cable tugged against the port with a soft, sticky sound. I unlocked the screen. New message from no underscoring. I didn't want to open it. Every muscle in my body said no, but my thumb moved anyway. The message popped up before I even finished tapping. Too late. The typing indicator flashed again immediately after, those 3 little dots pulsing like a heartbeat. Then a snap arrived. From no underscore name. My pulse roared in my ears. My fingers went numb around the phone. I hesitated, every part of me suddenly aware of how my legs were dangling slightly over the edge of the mattress, how the blanket wasn't tucked under my feet like I usually did. I opened the snap. The image was grainy, low light, but I recognized it instantly. My bed, the underside of my mattress above, sagging slightly in the middle. The cold metal slats of the frame, dust bunnies, a lost sock, the yellow glow of the charging indicator spilling softly over the edge at the far side. The camera was lying flat on the floor under my bed, tilted just enough to see the gap between the mattress and the floor. At the top of the frame were my legs, dangling over the edge of the mattress, bare feet, ankles relaxed, the hem of my trousers just above them, so close to the lens that I could see the faint crease where the blanket had rested earlier. I realized, with this horrible, slow-spreading terror, that I could also see my own hand, holding my phone, from underneath. I didn't scream, couldn't. My voice was gone, my throat closed up, my whole body flooded with adrenaline but had nowhere to put it. Every instinct was shrieking. Move, run, jump, get off the bed. But under that was another feeling. If I moved, I would feel something. A hand grabbing my ankle, fingers digging into my calf, nails dragging across my skin. So I didn't move, not a centimeter. I lay there, muscles locked, staring at the photo on my screen while the timer ticked down in the top right corner. 10, 9. I hoped stupidly that when the snap closed, this would all reset. That I'd wake up, or laugh, or see some obvious trick. Instead, when it hit 0, the screen went back to the chat. Another message slid into place. Stay. I could hear it now. Breathing. Not mine. Mine was shallow and fast, loud in my chest. This was slower, deeper, coming from right below me. A soft, moist sound, occasionally catching like there was something in its throat. The mattress dipped, just a fraction, like a hand had pressed up gently from underneath. I felt it against my spine, a barely there push, just enough to let me know something was there. The foam made that tiny crackling noise old mattresses make when they're compressed. The room smelled different. Beneath the usual damp and dust, there was a sour smell now. Sweat that had dried and been re-wet. Old breath trapped in fabric. A hint of mildew, like clothes that had been left wet too long in a dark place. I lay there and counted my heartbeats. I tried to convince myself it was sleep paralysis, a nightmare layered on top of reality. Then my phone vibrated again. Another snap. My vision blurred with tears I didn't remember starting. I wiped them away with the back of my hand. the skin of my fingers cold and clammy. I opened it. This time, the angle had changed. The camera was still under the bed, but it had been pulled back slightly. I could see further out toward the door. A thin strip of light under it drew a faint line across the floorboards. In the near left corner of the frame, illuminated by that line, were fingers, pale, thin, nails too long, scraping lightly back and forth over the wood. I watched them move in the snap, a slow, repetitive motion, leaving faint marks behind. Closer to the camera, in the bottom of the frame, something else was barely visible. Hair. Long strands of dark hair spread out on the floor, like someone was lying on their back under the bed, looking up, holding the phone to their chest. The snap ended. I didn't move, not when my legs started to cramp, not when my arm went numb from being in the same position too long, not when my phone battery dropped dangerously low and the screen dimmed itself. At some point in the night, consciousness blurred. I hovered in that awful half-dream state where you're aware of your body but detached from it. I remember the sensation of the mattress occasionally shifting, like something repositioning itself. I remember the breathing changing pace, sometimes faster, sometimes slow and almost gentle. I don't remember sleep actually coming, but I remember the light, pale gray seeping through the curtains, the distant sound of a rooster, then a motorcycle, then a vendor shouting something down the lane. Morning. The breathing was gone. The smell had faded back to just damp and dust. When I finally forced myself to move, it felt like pushing through invisible cement. I swung my legs up onto the bed, tucking my feet under me like a child. I sat there for a long minute, staring at the floor. Then, heart hammering, I leaned over and looked under the bed. Nothing. Just dust, that lost sock, an old receipt. No phone, no hair, no hand. My own phone buzzed in my grip. I almost threw it. New notification from Snapchat. Some messages in this chat have been deleted. I opened it. The thread with no underscore name was empty. No, don't leave your room tonight. No, too late. No snaps. No evidence. Just my own hi from days ago, sent to someone else, sitting there like a joke. By that evening, I'd called my father, mumbled something about bad electricity and not being able to study, and moved back home. I told no one the real reason. Now, months later, I sleep on a low charpai in my parents' house. There's barely any space under it, just a few inches. Still, I find myself pressing my feet flat on the bed, tucking the blanket in tight, never letting my legs dangle over the edge. I deleted Snapchat, changed numbers, changed phones. But sometimes, late at night, when the house is quiet and my parents are snoring, and I've almost convinced myself I imagined everything, my new phone will buzz once. A single vibration, no notification on the lock screen. When I unlock it, there'll be an empty chat sitting at the top of my list. No name, no bitmoji, just a blank space where the username should be and the words, typing, flashing for half a second before vanishing. Nothing comes through, nothing I can screenshot, just that feeling again, that someone is close enough to message me and closer still to touch me. So if you ever get a message from an account you don't recognize, with no picture, no name, telling you not to leave your room, don't laugh at it, don't ignore it. And if it deletes itself before you can answer, don't look under your bed to prove nothing's there. Because whoever sent it might not be warning you. They might just be letting you know where they already are.